Hey everyone, so let's jump right into one of the biggest questions out there, one that has shaped our world for centuries. When countries are at odds, what actually wins the day? Is it just raw, unfiltered power, or can a moral principle, an idea of what's right, actually stand a chance? I mean, listen to this. It's from over 2,000 years ago, and wow, it just cuts right to the bone, doesn't it? It lays out a worldview that is absolutely brutal. Justice is a conversation for equals. If you're not on the same level, well, then power is the only thing that matters. And that's really the heart of the matter we're digging into. Is our world really run by this ancient Athenian logic that might makes right? Or is there another way? Is there a place for a system built on fairness and law for everybody, no matter how big or small? We're going to look at two radically different answers to that very question. So, first up, we're heading to ancient Greece. Picture this. The powerful Athenian Empire shows up on the shores of a tiny, neutral island called Molos. What happens next isn't a battle, not at first anyway. It's a conversation, a negotiation that gives us a perfect look into the philosophy we now call realism. Right out of the gate, you can see they're not even on the same planet. The Athenians are all about practical reality. Look, they're saying, we're strong, you're weak, the only logical thing for you to do is submit. But the Melians, they want to talk about what's right, what's fair. They're trying to have a conversation about justice, and their hope to just be left alone. So the Melians make a really smart argument. They try to appeal to Athens' own self-interest. They're basically saying, hey, think about it. If you establish a principle that everyone deserves fair treatment, that could protect you one day when you might be in trouble. It's an appeal to a bigger, shared idea of justice. But the Athenians, their response is just stunning. They completely shut that logic down. They say that if they let Milos stay neutral and friendly, all the other places they control will see it as a sign of weakness. For a huge empire, the perception of being weak is way, way more dangerous than having one more little enemy. Power, they argue, has to be constantly proven. So what do you do when you're faced with that kind of stone-cold calculation? Well, the Melians put their faith in things they can't see. They hope the gods will smile on them because they're in the right. They hope maybe they'll get lucky in a war. And they really hope their allies, the Spartans, will step up and help them out of a sense of honor. The Athenians are not buying it. Not for a second. They call all that hope a delusion. They point to what they see as a much more basic law. A law of nature itself that says the strong will always rule the weak. In their minds, they're not being monsters. They're just acting according to the fundamental rules of the world. And well, the dialogue ends. The Melians refuse to give in. And the realist argument is proven with brutal, terrible speed. The Athenians take the island, kill the men, and sell the women and children into slavery. For them, the debate was settled not with words, but with force. Okay, now, let's hit the fast-forward button, like way forward, about 2,400 years. We're landing in a world shattered by the First World War. And onto this stage steps the U.S. President Woodrow Wilson, with a vision for humanity that could not be more different. Just listen to that language: fit and safe, justice and fair dealing. This is the voice of what we call idealism. Wilson is basically saying that the entire system of power politics, the very same logic the Athenians used, was what caused this catastrophic war. He wanted a whole new world order, one built on moral principles, not military might. His plan, the famous 14 points, was a direct attack on that whole realist way of thinking. No more secret deals, no more massive arms races. Instead, he wanted open diplomacy, freedom of the seas, and the right for all nations to choose their own destiny. And the centerpiece, the real game changer, was this idea for a general association of nations, a kind of global team designed to protect everyone, big or small, replacing the cold math of power with the rule of law. So there you have it, two completely opposite ways of looking at the world, born thousands of years apart, but both trying to answer the same fundamental questions. Let's put them side by side and really see the difference. And this table just lays it out so clearly. For the realist, justice is a privilege for the powerful. Power is the only thing that's real, and the world is just one long fight for control. But for the idealist, justice is for everyone, power needs to be kept in check by laws, and the world can be a community that works together. Now, here's the most important part.
This is not just some fascinating old story from a history book. This debate isn't over, not by a long shot. It's alive and well, and it's happening right now.
In fact, you can see this exact same tension playing out in today's headlines. Every single time countries argue about a treaty or sanctions or an intervention, they're really arguing from one of these two corners. One side is talking about national interest and strategic advantage. That's the Athenians. The other is talking about international law and human rights. And that's Wilson. So that brings us to the final question, and this one is for you. When you look around at the world today, which voice do you hear louder? Is it the cold, pragmatic logic of the Athenians, believing the strong do what they want and the weak just have to deal with it? Or is it the hopeful vision of Wilson, who believed we could actually build a world based on justice for everyone? The answer really does define our world and our future.